Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, the state of human rights in the country.
If you continue to cast aspersions against people who are obviously exercising what the Constitution allows them to do as human rights, then you create a chilling effect.
Amid the International Criminal Court's probe on alleged extrajudicial killings, Free Legal Assistance Group Chairman and human rights lawyer Chel Diokno joins us live. And later, South Africa wins the Miss Universe crown.
At the end of the day, I can take comfort in the fact na lumaban si Gazini all the way till the very end.
And the Miss U Philippines franchise getting a leadership makeover. Pageant expert Norman Tino weighs in live. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. Malacanang downplaying the report of the International Criminal Court, or ICC, that it will finalize its preliminary investigation on the government's war on drugs next year. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo maintains that the ICC has no jurisdiction over President Rodrigo Duterte. And we get to know the status of human rights situation in the country. Let's go straight to the source of the story. Free Legal Assistance Group Chairman, Attorney Chel Diokno. Attorney Diokno, so good to see you again. Welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure.
We are celebrating International Human Rights Day. How would you describe the human rights situation in the country?
Well, I think the human rights situation today is deplorable, especially when we talk about the right to life. We are seeing it being violated every single day. It's something that, as a human rights lawyer, I find really sad, because we were making so many gains in human rights until this situation came about.
And the focus of why you were saying it's deplorable, is it because of the war on drugs?
Primarily, it's the war on drugs, but it's the entire climate of fear and violence that we are experiencing today, epitomized by the war on drugs. You see, from July 1, 2016 up to November 30, 2017, there were 20,322 people killed in the war on drugs. That is based on an official report cited in a Supreme Court case that we're handling. So if you extrapolate from that number, from that time up to today, I think the figure is easily between 30 to 40,000 killed.
And then when we talk about that, attorney, there are always conflicting reports really on the number of deaths since the war on drugs.
I think that's deliberate. I think that when those in law enforcement realized that the numbers were reaching into the tens of thousands, they started changing the parameters for counting the deaths. And that's why it's so difficult to find an exact number.
Yeah, and to this day, what number do you have? What number are you working on in terms of deaths due to the war on drugs?
Well, my best estimate is that we are probably in the figure of 40,000.
From 2016?
From 2016.
But what is your basis on that?
Well, that figure I mentioned earlier, cited in the Supreme Court the case, is for 17 months. So if you add the next 25 months, and you are conservative, let's say a minimum of about 30,000, but I would say it's probably in the area of 40,000.
Would you say, attorney, that especially in the past months or maybe the past year, that the killings have been reduced?
No, the news reports about the killings, they're coming out, let's say in the papers, has gone down. But the actual killings, based on the reports we've been gathering, continue.
How do you know that?
From sources both within and from outside the government.
However, sadly, that will not be the official number, or that would not be the official count.
Yeah.
So it's not decreased, huh?
No.
Because the police is saying it's actually been reduced.
No, every single day that I open my phone, I get reports of people being killed in the war on drugs in certain areas. Maybe in some areas it has gone down, but there are hotspots. For example, Bulacan. The reports are always coming in.
Let's talk about the Commission on Human Rights. Is it doing enough somehow to, well, number one, first question on that is to protect the basic human rights of Filipinos?
I think the CHR is doing the best job that it can, given its limited resources, given the situation that we are in today. And I do hope that...
The situation meaning the conflict, possible conflict with the present administration?
If you recall, early on, there was an attempt to remove the budget from the CHR.
Right, zero
budget. There were
budget.
personal attacks against the chair, against Chair Chito. And of course, that I think did affect the performance of the CHR.
How do you take away that notion that the Commission on Human Rights normally is labeled as those just protecting the suspects? Pinoprotektahan niyo lang yung murderer o yung mga rapist.
You know, that's what they say about all of us human rights defenders, including myself. Sabi nila, puro mga kriminal lang daw ang dinidepensahan namin. But the truth is that human rights is really for the marginalized in the country. Powerful people don't need human rights because they'll get respect because of their power. But those who are marginalized in the country, they need the protection of the law and they need the protection of human rights. And when we speak of human rights, it's really a question of protecting human dignity. That to me is the core, human dignity and the human life. And that's why it saddens me when I see a lot of fake news going around that, oh, you just protect criminals, or, oh, you were interested in human life and not human rights. It betrays a total ignorance of what we do as human rights defenders.
So what is the biggest misconception about human rights defenders?
Well, I think it's that we have no regard for human life, that we only defend suspects, when the truth is that every person, regardless of what they have done in their life, has to be treated with the minimum amount of dignity. Even someone who's been convicted, someone in jail, still deserves some form of human dignity, basic human dignity. And I've said this so many times that when a person commits a crime, he or she deserves to be punished to the full extent of the law. But we should never treat them as animals. Because when you treat a person like an animal, you become an animal yourself.
Even if that suspect treated the victim like an animal?
Yes, because when you treat someone like that, it demeans you as a person. And you will lower your own humanity when you do that. And I think the lessons of history will really show that. Just as violence breeds violence, when you violate human rights, and you will tend to become like that as well.
The International Criminal Court saying that the preliminary investigation may be out next year. I wanted to get your thoughts on that after the break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Attorney Chel Diokno. The ICC, sir, is saying that they will come out with a preliminary investigation by next year. What kind of decision are you expecting?
Well, we're hoping that the ICC will continue. Right now, they're in the stage of a preliminary examination, and the next stage should be one of a formal investigation. But that will require the approval of the chambers of the ICC, the court. And I understand that as far as the evidence to support the filing of crimes against humanity is concerned, it seems that the prosecutor is convinced that there is enough evidence. The remaining issue is one of admissibility, whether our courts in the Philippines are capable of genuinely prosecuting those responsible. They call it the principle of complementarity.
Right. So preliminary examination, let's always get that clear. It's not investigation, it's still examination. And if there is probable cause, hence a preliminary investigation.
Yes, whether there's sufficient ground to proceed to a formal investigation.
Is it too fast when there is talk about possibly the president being served a warrant or if found guilty? Secretary Panelo is saying, who's going to enforce this?
Well, we haven't reached that stage yet. The main issue that will be resolved by the prosecutor is whether there is enough democratic space in the country to really punish and prosecute and punish those responsible. And they will be looking at our laws as well, because actually we have a law and some decisions of the court that say that the president cannot be sued while he is sitting in office. And I hope that that will be a factor that the ICC will consider in deciding whether they should proceed or not.
Why you want it to be considered that the president cannot be charged?
The Rome Statute says that it should be the national courts that should prosecute priority.
First and
but
foremost,
if they cannot prosecute either because of a law or because it's genuinely impossible, then the ICC should
That's
come
when
in.
they come in. That's why you want them to recognize
And
that.
what we're saying is that it's impossible to prosecute the president while he's sitting.
Because you can't do that while he's sitting in office. But another question would be, Attorney, definitely on jurisdiction. Why? Because there's no jurisdiction. Government is saying because the Rome Statute, the treaty that actually formed the ICC, was never published in the official gazette. And the second, sir, is the withdrawal of the Philippines from the Rome Statute.
That's really a bunch of bull, really. There's no requirement that treaties are published in the official gazette. The requirement for treaties is that we ratify the treaties, and we did way back in 2011. And from 2011 until our withdrawal took effect in 2019, the ICC clearly has jurisdiction over our country and over acts that are committed here.
Until we've actually left the ICC.
That is effective this year, March of this year.
Because it takes 1 year. And there's a 1 year allowance from the time you give notice that you want out of the ICC. It takes a life of another year on that. But how do you see this progressing, sir, hypothetically, if there is probable cause and a preliminary investigation is pursued?
Well, if there is a formal investigation that will happen, then there will be, after that, an application for the issuance of a warrant of arrest.
I see.
Yeah, and earlier you were mentioning that, I think Secretary Panelo said that that's never going to be enforced. But actually, all states that are members of the Rome Statute, the treaty that created the ICC, are obligated to cooperate whenever a warrant is issued.
Yeah, but who will enforce it?
There's no international police that will come
Exactly.
here. But, and if the president remains in the country, it probably will not be enforced. But if he travels to another country which is part of the Rome Statute, party to the statute, they are obligated to enforce the warrant.
Who?
The state.
The host country
The
where
host
he
country.
is, that is part of the ICC.
Yeah.
So any country, does that mean that the local police in that particular country will submit the particular individual, let's say the president?
The treaty says he or she should be taken into custody. They should ensure that his rights are fully respected. And then he should be delivered to The Hague, where the court sits.
Do you think that will be done by any country, for example, where the president goes to?
Well, I understand it has been done in other cases. It remains to be seen whether that will be done.
This might be a
case,
first.
assuming, of course, that we
There
will reach
is.
that stage.
Just also wanted to get your thoughts, Vice President Leni Robredo, as an anti-drug czar for just a couple of days or more than a week. The president firing her. She said that she will tell the public what she knows about the war on drugs after her meetings with various stakeholders. Is this a good thing, sir, that the Vice President revealed whatever it is she knows?
Well, I'm very eager to hear what she knows. And I'd like to point out one particular fact, that during the 18 days that she was co-chair of that committee, no one was killed in a police operation. To me, that's a very telling fact, because it indicates that the police are also afraid of being held accountable. That's why there were no deaths that happened during her time there.
Any idea what the Vice President discovered?
No.
No, not at all.
I've tried, but I don't know.
Well, also, I just wanted to bring this in. The International Human Rights Day theme is youth standing up for human rights. How should the youth stand up for human rights, Attorney?
I think it's a very, very fitting theme, because we've seen it not just in our country but worldwide. We've seen the youth standing up for, speaking the truth to power. And it's time in the country that our youth really have a voice. I've been talking to a lot of them, and they really are looking for role models. They're not happy with what's happening. And I can sense that they are little by little and more now standing up for human rights.
Are the Filipino youth, are their voices loud enough? Are they stronger? Or are they still afraid?
Yeah, actually, the Philippines already belongs to the youth. The median age of the Filipino is 23.5 years old. More than half of our population are young, and even our registered voters are more than 50% are young. So I can see that in the coming years, they will have a very, very powerful role to play in the country.
Attorney Chel Diokno, sir, good to see you. Maraming
Same here.
salamat po sa inyo. We'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned.